Hello everyone, this is Hopespoir here. Welcome to another World of Warships commentary, this time featuring the cruiser Yorck. Now this is going to be my first commentary on what I consider to be a real cruiser, since the Kronstadt is not really a real cruiser. It doesn't really quite play like one. I just got the Yorck. This is my 6th game in it. I am divisioned up with Mandy Mouse, who is also grinding through the Yorck. She has a little more experience in it, probably 20-30 games is my guess. Looking at the lineup here, we can see that this is a pretty challenging game for us. We are bottom tier. There are 2 tier 7 cruisers on each team, which is us, 1 tier 7 destroyer, and 1 tier 7 battleship. Aside from that, everyone else is tier 8, except for 2 tier 9 battleships per team. And there's a carrier on each team, which doesn't help with the spotting. The 2 battleships on their team, which are tier 9, are the Musashi and the Izumo, both of which are quite scary. The Izumo has recently been through several rounds of buffs, actually. I think there have been 3 or 4 rounds of buffs. The latest ones have to do with penetration, so the Izumo now has better penetration. And it also has had Sigma very recently, a Sigma buff, and I believe it also had an accuracy buff, either now or just a little while ago, and previously it had some armor buffs and whatnot, so it's quite formidable now. The Musashi is always scary when it is top tier. Well, it's always scary anyways, but it's always quite scary when it's top tier. It's extra scary for me, the Musashi, because my Citadel is 30 millimeters. So the Musashi can overmatch my Citadel. So there's going to be a lot of instances where he's shooting at me, where he may just get automatic Citadels, just without an armor check, which is obviously not ideal. So here I'm taking shots at the Kutuzov, which are fairly low percentage. I know that I'm unlikely to hit him, or if I do, I might get a couple of shells on him. But there's 2 reasons why I'm firing at him anyways. One of them is that I think that there is either absolute minimal or no threat level to me at all, because I'm either going to be undetected, or if I am detected, any real threat to me is going to be very far away from me. I'm either going to be out of their gun range, or I'll have plenty of time to dodge their incoming fire, and their dispersion will be great at this range. Another reason why I fired is because, as you can see, when I fired at the Kutuzov there, I was not detected. If I was detected, I would then be very suspicious that the single DD on their team was on this flank. So I was also trying to determine if there was a reasonable possibility that the enemy destroyer was on this flank. I wasn't detected, so I obviously don't know that the enemy destroyer isn't on this flank, but I'm suspecting that. Unfortunately, our Mahan in front of me is opening fire. I don't know why he's doing this. He should not be opening fire, and because he's firing, he's in extreme danger of dying very quickly. Okay, so I've chosen to go wide here. As you can see, I'm sailing quite far east here for 2 reasons. One is, if you look on the menu map behind me, we have ships coming this way. We have a Friedrich der Große and an Atago. Oops. No, not on the Große, I don't think. In any case, the Atago is coming out this way. There's also an FDG and an Mogami falling behind, so I'm going extra wide to create a more of an angle on other ships. So, for example, the Kutuzov, I might be able to fire at him when others cannot. And I also know that the Scharnhorst, the enemy Scharnhorst, is coming out fairly wide as well. And I would like to... It would be nice if I can, get some time having the Scharnhorst singled out where I don't have to worry about anyone else. Try to burn him down. Kill him off if possible. It would be very advantageous to be able to take out an enemy battleship so early on, especially the Scharnhorst is a bit of a cruiser killer. Scharnhorst is quite effective against cruisers, and of course I am a cruiser, so if I can get rid of him, I'd be pretty happy about that. I do see that he's firing HE, which makes me much less worried about him. I'm also very happy about that. And it also makes me think that, well, this might be an opportunity to kind of burn him down as much as possible. Just because he's firing HE doesn't mean that he's not going to be useful. I mean, it makes him much less of a threat against... As long as he keeps on firing HE, it makes him much less of a threat against us cruisers. However, of course, if he starts firing at a battleship and he's firing HE, he can still do a lot of damage to battleships, and I would like to prevent that from happening as well. So I'm trying to do as much damage to him now as possible. Now, one thing that as I do that, I will like to mention that this is the buffed version of the Yorck and not recently buffed. Okay, so I think sometime around 8-9 months ago, maybe 10 months ago, the Yorck was buffed. So this was in the summer of 2018. It received velocity buffs to its shells. Now, I don't know if they were outright muzzle velocity buffs or whether it was like a drag coefficient buff or something, but the shells are now much faster, at least to range, from the Yorck. As you can see, I'm firing up to 12 kilometers here, and it's only 6.35 seconds roughly to get out to a little over 12 kilometers. Now, from my understanding, the shells used to be quite a lot slower than this. Now, this obviously makes it much easier to hit things at target, but also one of the main advantages of that, or the major advantage, is that the AP is now going to have much greater penetration at range. And I'm going to try to put that to good use later. The dispersion, it is a cruiser, so it does have cruiser dispersion, which is pretty good, but it can be really iffy. So one thing that kind of pissed me off a few seconds ago was I had a few shots at that Scharnhorst where they were actually aimed fairly well. I think 1 or 2 volleys. My turrets were being fired staggered, so they kind of went off one at a time, but I was watching my shells going in, and there were some that were aimed well, and the dispersion was just causing most of the shells to miss. And then he fired back at me, and he hit something like, I think he probably hit like 5 shells, HE shells. And that kind of pissed me off just a little bit, because obviously I would expect to have much better dispersion than the Scharnhorst, but such is RNG. So now that he's dead, I'm turning around, I'm coming back quickly. As I reach the map edge, I already turned around. And so looking at the mini-map here, what I see is, well, one thing that I have noticed is that the enemy destroyer is on the other flank. And because it's only a mince, you could say, but because our North Carolina is sailing up by himself, not only kind of fairly close to the Minsk, but also having to deal with Cleveland and Monarch, I'm a little concerned there. Our Musashi is slow getting out there, and the Mugami is going to help on the North Cal, but they're definitely outnumbered on that flank. I am kind of making my way over there because I see that flank is probably a little weak. There's still, with me here, there's still 5 ships here, so I've already told Manny that we should slowly progress over to the other side, or fairly quickly, I guess, but at the same time, obviously, doing as much damage as we can. Now, I just took instead of firing at the Izumo that last volley, I tried to shoot at that Tirpitz. I didn't think that I would be able to get there in time, but if you look at the mini-map, what I see is, and I'm not happy about this, our Tirpitz is charging forward. I'm pretty sure he's going to die because he has to deal with a much healthier enemy Tirpitz, and there's also an Atago and a Kutuzov there. Luckily, he rams the enemy Tirpitz, which is actually by far the best outcome that could happen there, because I really thought that we were going to lose that Tirpitz for absolute minimal effect. You know, I was thinking if lucky, he might get a couple torpedoes on the enemy Tirpitz, which would have been the second best possible outcome. The fact that he ran them is fantastic, given that he was so badly outnumbered in that scenario. So, you know, shouldn't have been in the first place, but having been there, he did make the best of it. But I think that was more just kind of unintentional, basically, kind of stupid luck more than, and I'm not calling him stupid, I'm just saying that that was more like a stupid luck rather than just like something that he planned to do. Like, as in, he probably didn't think, oh, I'm really badly outnumbered here, I'm not going to survive, I should just ram. Or maybe he did. But in any case, it wasn't the worst possible outcome, because now we're only down 1 ship, which is the destroyer. We have pretty good control of this flank. We've put a lot of damage into that Izumo. I haven't gotten any fires, which is really frustrating. I fired mostly HE now. I'm up to, how many hits is that? 68 plus something? 74. I'm up to 74 hits. I don't have a single fire, which is kind of frustrating, but you know, sometimes that fire RNG is just not your friend. Okay, so, you know, as I communicated with Mandy before, we did want to come this way. That North Carolina there that we suspected was going to die did die. And then looking at the mini-map, again, the Mogami is really low on health. I don't see any torpedoes in the water. You can see he was on screen there. Against the Cleveland, I don't know if he'd already shot his torpedoes or he just didn't shoot his torpedoes, but Mogami's not in a great spot here. It looks like he's turning around to try to use his other torpedoes, but at this point, I'm thinking the Musashi hopefully will finish him off without losing our Mogami there. Okay, so here I am kind of looking as I make my way that way. The tactical situation has changed. The threat level on that side has decreased significantly. And so I'm kind of driving in. I'm taking a little slower. I'm slowed down a little bit as I'm making my way over to try to hurt anything I see here. I do manage to get a Citadel on that Miyoko. Fantastic. Especially because I lost sight of him before I could fire. He'd already gone dark for a couple seconds before I could fire, so very happy to get that Citadel. The Kutuzov, once again, has gone dark before I could fire. This time I get nothing. I would really like to hurt that Kutuzov as well, any chance I get, because, as you can see, he's smoked up here. I think he's sitting in his own smoke, and now he's spamming. I hate the fact that they have a long-range HE spamming cruiser that can smoke itself. Okay, so this is one of the most dangerous ships on the enemy team. It's the Musashi, and I see him here. Aside from him, the other side, so you can see our Cleveland there has died, leaving only the Musashi. I hope that he's going to be okay there against the Miyoko, especially since our Lexington is also attacking that Miyoko. I see from the mini-map here that what I would assess as the largest threat that I can engage here is the Musashi, and he definitely is one of the largest threats to any ship on our team. You know, I'm always very concerned about a Musashi being top tier in a situation like this, especially now that the number of ships is getting a little lower and we're down a ship. He can, especially against, you know, like a ship that being driven by someone who's not that well aware, like our Friedrich der Große right behind me. He's fairly broadside to the Musashi. He could get very badly punished. So I'm here trying to absolutely do as much damage to the Musashi as possible. I really want him dead. Right, so you can see right there, like he was shooting at the Grosse, and if he gets a good volley off, you know, he could probably take most or all of that de Grosse's health, and I really kind of would not like that to happen. And I think he did in fact hit him pretty hard, because if you look at our de Grosse's health there, he's pretty low. I looked at the Miyoko, who was not really moving there, but I had HE loaded, so I was thinking I really want to work on this Musashi as much as possible. I've subsequently reloaded AP, and I'm going to try to hit this Miyoko. It's actually a Southern Dragon or whatever, but in the replay it shows up as the Miyoko. The same thing. Kutuzov's low. I would very happy that he's almost dead. Oh, I kind of knew these weren't going to get there, but you know, he's got 175 HP, but if he manages to re-smoke himself in a good position, he could just spam HE for such a long time and still do a lot of damage. So I really kind of like wishful thinking there, fired at him. I knew I wasn't going to hit. Once again, going back to trying to kill this Musashi. Also, as long as that Musashi is alive there, I can't really drive out to that flank in very free, because at any moment I could take a devastating volley from that Musashi. If I can manage to kill him off, it'll give me much more freedom to get out to that flank and help our Musashi out. So I'm really, really trying to kill him off. Luckily, you know, despite the really bad fire RNG I've gotten this game, I did get 3 fires on the Musashi. And that has helped me a lot, and I get a really good HE volley there on him, 4,500 and change damage, which for Yorck is actually against the Musashi is a very good volley. Because there's a lot of plating on the Musashi, that center section, which is 57 millimeters or something, which I actually can't even pen. So even with the German HE pen advantage, so that was a really good volley. Very happy to kill him off. This allows me to get out here, and our Musashi has died to probably just getting absolutely burned down from 2 Miyokos and an Atago. The Atago is in the form of a Takao, and one of the Miyokos is a Southern Dragon. But in any case, yeah, an Atago and 2 Miyokos. And I know that our Friedrich der Große is low on health here, so I'm trying to get out here, and I suspect he's going to get killed. But I want to, you know, while they're focused on him, I want to get out here and do as much damage as I can, because obviously I would like to chip them down before I have to face off against them. We are still just slightly winning this game. It's a very close game, and now we're losing now that the Grossa has died, which I suspected. You know, I kind of suspected this game might go down to points, so at this point I know that every kill is extremely important. So I get a good volley on the Myoko, sit it out. So here he is within 10 kilometers, so I mean even the old unbuffed Yorck would be able to get good damage on him. I get a second Citadel on him. Okay, so now that was extremely useful because now instead of having 3 ships firing at me, I can only have 2. I'm taking a bit of a chance here because I know that they're probably far enough away from me that I might not be able to auto-detect them unless they fire. But I'm a little concerned about them kind of sailing back quickly and getting the jump on our 3 cruisers there. I often am in a habit of not trusting the players on my team that much. And I do pick up this Atago since from him firing at me. He is fairly sideways, so come on, AP. No, that doesn't look like it's going to work. There's a bit of a misfire, a little bit of a rush shot. Now I'm talking to Mandy here. You obviously can't hear it because we're on Discord. I'm telling her to fire on this ship. Because if you look at the position of Mandy and myself, Mandy and I are both firing AP. He can't really angle very well against both of us. So he's going to have to kind of move back and forth to try to angle against either Mandy or myself, not both of us. And because of that, I get a double Citadel on that Takao / Atago. And that kind of happened through, you know, kind of good communication. I don't know if Mandy would have known to do that anyways. But I definitely was kind of saying, you know, like we've got a crossfire on him. Let's make sure that he has to give one of us a good shot. And thanks to that teamwork, good div work, we managed to finish off the Atago, which, you know, is quite a bit more dangerous than a Myoko, partly because it does have heals. And if he had any heals left, I wanted to make sure that he wasn't going to be able to take advantage of, you know, especially if he had 3 or 4 heals left. I definitely didn't want him using 3 or 4 heals. So we finished him off. Now, I'm still a little concerned for my team. I know that there's a destroyer somewhere there in the dark. It's a bit of a threat. And now our Atago, who was low on health, I didn't point that out earlier, but I didn't notice that our Atago was low on health, and he's now died. And so we have a Mogami with a lot of health there still, but he's being attacked by the Lexington and the Myoko. And now that I took a quick look at the Izumo there, if you saw, I just zoomed in on the Izumo. The Izumo is also pointing his guns towards the Mogami and Mandy. So I'm thinking I want to get this Myoko killed as soon as possible. I did just get a Citadel on the Myoko as well. I can see that his engine's out by zooming in. So I'm aiming accordingly, and I get another Citadel. I don't know, I really think that he should be repairing that if he can. I'm assuming he's already used his damage con and can't. But that works to my advantage. His engine is still out, which makes it easier for me to aim. Not the greatest volley, but still over 3,000. As long as his engine is out and he's kind of stuck like this, he's not going to survive very long. So I'm going to continue trying to take advantage of that. Another Citadel. Leaves him with 392. He's either going to die by my hand or someone else's. And Mandy steals my kill. Damn it, Mandy! So this now leaves me feeling pretty good. You can see the Mogami has a lot of health. Mandy doesn't have as much. I'm telling Mandy to stay a little further back here. Definitely do not give the Myoko any shots. And because the Mogami has more health, I'm telling Mandy, you know, kind of just stay back. And you can see Mandy does stay back, letting the Mogami tank. And here, she manages to kill off the Lexington as well. So good job, Mandy. That was fantastic. Okay, killing off the Lexington basically secures the win for us. I'm playing this very carefully. Now I'm up to 147,000 damage with 8 Citadels. Very few fires. Most of what I shot this game was HE, but I only had 3 fires. So I just didn't really get much. The thing about the AP and firing for Citadels is that it's much more reliable. If you hit the Citadel, there's much less RNG involved in that. Sometimes there is a little bit, depending on the angle. But you know, in many cases when they're just broadside, there is no RNG, except for the RNG of your shells. Whereas, you know, when you're dealing with fires, you're dealing with both the RNG of your shells and also the RNG to get fires. I'm being very, very careful here. I could possibly get quite a bit more damage on the Izumo, but at this point, I just want to make sure that we win the game. You can see Mandy and the Mogami are kind of like moving out towards the Izumo now. I want to make sure that the Izumo doesn't somehow get a miraculous kill on me and then kill them as well. So the Minsk has been detected. It started a cap on our base. So I'm telling Mandy, make sure that you don't leave the enemy cap in case it comes down to it. But the Lexington should be able to prevent any cap. There. And this is going to be the end of the game. So I finished with basically what you see, 147,000 is my 6th game in the Yorck. So far, I like it a lot. I don't know what it would have been like pre-buff, but I know that for a fact that the shell velocity increase would have been very useful. So a quick look at the results here. I already mentioned this a bit. As you can see, 147,000 damage from 105 penetrations, from 162 hits, 3 fires, 8 citadels. Got 3 kills, had a couple stolen off me, 1 from Mandy. Team score, 2299 for me. Mandy, good job in 2nd place, 1726. I like this ship a lot, I really do. Only 6 games, but I like it a lot so far. You can see a lot of damage to the Musashi here. I only got 3 fires, but off of 116 HE hits, but they came at the right time. You know, a lot of damage, over 25,000 fire damage on the Musashi, which helped a lot in killing him. Allowed me to allowed me to kind of move into that western flank. It opened up that flank for me to do the damage to the Dragon, Takao, and Miyoko that you can see, the next 3 ships there. I also did some kind of chip damage on the Scharnhorst, Izumo, and Kutuzov. So yeah, I like this ship a lot. I think it's going to be my favorite Tier 7 cruiser, and it might actually be the strongest Tier 7 cruiser. I haven't played them all, but even after the Miyoko got its buffs, I think this might be the strongest Tier 7 cruiser. So thank you very much for watching, and hope to see you again soon. This is Hopespoir signing off. Thank you. Goodbye.